So there are two primary ways to generate earned income: active income and passive income. Active income is any income that is generated through the use of your own labor, and usually requires you to trade a certain amount of time for money, oftentimes occurring at a job. Passive income is any income that is generated through the use of systems that work for you, even if you may not be doing much to maintain them at the time. Active income is usually the first and sometimes the only way that we think about making money. It is certainly the most common way to make money, and many would argue that it's also the easiest way to make money. But which of these two methods is better? There are certainly good points made on each side of this debate, so let's talk about it. As you can no doubt tell by the title of this video, today we're going to be going over the passive income versus active income debate. I'm going to be illustrating what both forms of income are, discussing the pros and cons of each, and hopefully, along the way, you will get some interesting ideas on how to make money using one or both of these methods for yourself. Hey everyone, Daniel here, and welcome to Next Level Life, a channel where you can learn all about investing, debt, retirement, and many other financial topics besides, because let's face it, the schools aren't going to teach it for us. So if any of those topics sound interesting to you, or if you want to learn how to better handle your money and have more financial freedom, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell next to my name to be notified every time I upload a new video. And if you want to further support the growth of this channel, you can smash that like button if you haven't already, share this video with a friend, and leave a comment below letting me know what topics you'd like me to cover in future videos. The main draw to passive income is that once it's up and running, you're able to generate some sort of cash flow every single month, whether you're showing up for work or relaxing on a beach somewhere. However, despite sounding like passive income is far and away the superior form of income, there are actually some genuine advantages that active income has that passive doesn't. The first advantage to active income is that it can often be generated immediately. Passive income usually takes a little more time or money, sometimes both, to get the system up and running properly in order to start generating a reliable and sustainable income stream. Active income can be earned pretty much right away because all you gotta do is show up and work. There's always people looking for help with things, either because they're busy or they don't like doing it, or they're business owners trying to expand their business. And there's only so much time in the day, so they need help. Another advantage to active income is that it's usually larger than what your passive income would be, at least to start with. Again, in order to make a reliable and sustainable passive income stream, you're usually going to have to spend either a good chunk of time creating your own product or service, researching how to make it profitable, as well as learning how to properly market it to the correct audience. And depending on what type of product or service you're looking at selling, this could take anywhere from a month to 2 years, maybe even more. Depending on the state of the economy, your qualifications, and the type of active income it is you're pursuing, you could be earning a couple of $1,000s a month or more within a week or two. A third advantage to active income that is usually mentioned by many people is that it's easier to make than passive income. And while that may be true on a small scale, for instance, it doesn't take too much training or education to flip burgers at your local fast food place, I would argue that it's actually only true up to a certain point. Because I think that going for higher end jobs like a doctor, lawyer, accountant, or even some type of management position is usually actually harder to achieve than a comparable level of passive income. This is largely because of the time, education, and testing requirements that those professionals usually need to meet before landing the jobs that they're going for. And in some cases, the experience levels that are often required for higher end management positions. I believe that it's not only possible, and depending on your work ethic and skill set, maybe even easier to earn a comparable amount of income passively as, say, an accountant does actively, but I'll get into that in a minute. First, let's talk about the advantages of passive income that active income usually doesn't have. The first advantage to passive income is that once you properly set up your system and get it going, it often takes less working time to generate that same level of income that you would make with an active income stream. One misconception that some people have when it comes to passive income is that you don't need to work for the money, that you can live what's called the laptop lifestyle, go sit on a beach somewhere and watch the money roll in, and while that dream has some truth to it, it is very misleading. Because as I said earlier, in order to earn a reliable and sustainable income passively, you're going to have to do a pretty good amount of research and work up front to get the system going in the first place, and not all systems are going to last forever. A second advantage that passive income has is that it's incredibly good at helping you escape the rat race. As a matter of fact, I'd argue that it's almost always mandatory. The reality is, if we live long enough, eventually we will all reach a point where earning active income just isn't feasible anymore. But we'll still need money in order to survive. And if we can't work and earn that money actively, then passive income, either through a side hustle business or our investments in all likelihood, is likely the best solution. A third advantage that passive income possesses is that it can, in comparison to active income, become incredibly scalable, and as a result can help you achieve financial independence much faster than you could with just active income. This is basically the whole idea behind the book The Millionaire Fastlane. Because the fact of the matter is that we all only have 24 hours in a day to get everything we need to get done. So if we're paid by the hour or paid a certain amount of salary each year, there's going to be a cap on how much we can make actively. Passive income, though, works a little bit differently in this regard, and the effects that these differences can have on your financial future, and present for that matter, are extraordinary. A great example to show you how this works would be starting your own YouTube channel and generating a passive income stream by letting ads run on your videos. Let's say that Jane earns $20 an hour at her job. She's 40 years old and wants to become financially independent by the time she's 55. But she has no savings put away yet because she spent her early years paying off her student loans, as well as her mortgage and a few other smaller debts. She currently spends $40,000 a year and wants to maintain that standard of living in retirement. Thus, her goal for achieving financial independence is $1 million, following the 4% rule. It also means that she currently is saving $1,600 a year, or about $133 a month. Let's also say that Jane's been working on a YouTube channel that teaches people how to train pets, and on average, every new video that Jane uploads to her YouTube channel earns her $1 per day. She currently has 20 videos uploaded on her channel, and is thus making $20 a day. Each new video takes her a full day's work to produce, but she hasn't made any new videos in a while due to her workload. Jane has a few routes that she could take in order to achieve her financial independence. She could either pick up more hours at her day job, cut her expenses and invest more, devote more time to her YouTube channel, or some combination of the three. If she takes the first route and picks up more hours at her day job, she's certainly going to earn more. But since there's only so many hours in the day, she's going to be limited in how much she can earn using this strategy. She's also going to run the risk of running herself into the ground from overwork over time. But it is still an option and one that many people take. So how could this work out for her? Let's say that Jane worked a solid 10 hours a week of overtime for the 50 weeks a year that she works. She kept her spending the same and invested that money she made from the extra hours. She would be making about an extra $300 a week thanks to her working overtime, which translates to about $15,000 a year for her to invest, in addition to that $1,600 a year she was already investing. Assuming an 8% average rate of return over the long haul, Jane would hit her $1 million goal in about 23 years when she turns 63. That's technically still an early retirement, but it isn't quite as early as she was hoping for. But what if Jane also cut back her spending in addition to working the overtime? Say if instead of spending $40,000 a year, she only spent $30,000 a year, and then invested the difference. Maybe because she's working so much more overtime, she doesn't have as much time to go out and do as much as she did before, so she ends up spending less. Since she wants to maintain that $40,000 a year standard of living when she does retire, her financial independence goal remains the same, $1 million. But instead of spending 23 years investing $16,600 a year in order to get there, she now achieves it in 18 years at the age of 58 by investing $26,600 a year. That's certainly better, but still not quite as good as we want. What if, instead of working the overtime or cutting the spending, Jane decides to devote more time to her YouTube channel? As I said, she hasn't uploaded in quite a while due to her workload, so she would likely have to cut down her hours a little bit in order to produce the videos. Say that if she went down to working 4 days a week, so that she would have enough time in her schedule to produce one video each week. This would mean that she's now only making $33,280 a year from her job, and needs her YouTube channel to produce $6,720 a year, or about $18.41 a day to cover the rest of her expenses. But one new video each week, earning an average of $1 per day, is an additional $52 per day in income over the course of a year. So a year from now, $52 in additional income per day times 365 days in a year is nearly $19,000 a year in additional income. And of course, Jane was already making $20 per day from her older videos, so after 1 year's worth of uploads, Jane would be pulling in about $72 a day, or $26,280 a year from her YouTube channel. After 2 years, assuming the growth stays roughly the same, she'd be making $124 per day, or $45,260 a year, which is actually more than she's currently making working 40 hours a week at her day job. And it's also enough for her to cover her expenses in full. So if this YouTube thing were to hold up, and she could maintain her $40,000 a year lifestyle, she'd actually sort of be financially independent right then and there. But But of course she doesn't want to retire and leave her financial fate up to just her YouTube channel, so she'll decide to keep investing until she hits that $1 million net worth goal. And assuming that Jane kept uploading videos every single week and invested all the money that she earned from YouTube after covering her expenses, she would be financially independent in less than 10 years at the age of 50. That's the power of passive income and scalability. But that'll do it for me today. Once again, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button if you haven't already, subscribe, and hit that bell next to my name so you'll be notified of all my future uploads. I generally upload every single Monday, and if you have a friend that would be interested in this kind of content, be sure to share it with them. Let's really get this information out there and start our own financial revolution.